He's a guy who can step in there, but he's in a tough division with owned by the Chiefs and owned by Patrick Mahomes. Herbert's down the first 2 weeks of camp. Of all the guys, I think the one who has the best opportunity to be in the playoffs. I think I went back to Butchie all the way to there, but 2006. Every year since 2006, there has been a first-year coach leading his team to a playoffs. And a few years ago, we saw 5 first-year coaches in 2022. So if there's going to be one guy to come out of the 8, I think Raheem Morris is best positioned to do that in Atlanta because the NFC South is weak. I know the Bucs have won it 3 years in a row, but you're counting on Baker to do it again this year. Atlanta's got Kirk Cousins. They reloaded. They brought in some guys. And if their defense can play any better, I think it'll be the Falcons and Morris.
Rob, thanks, buddy, for joining me. We'll talk, okay, buddy?
You got it, my man.
Thanks.
Take care.
News, I'm Michelle Franzen. GOP nominee Donald Trump telling reporters he's ready to debate Kamala Harris, saying he's agreed to 3 dates in September for debates on Fox, NBC, and ABC. Trump also taking jabs at Democratic nominee Kamala Harris and her campaign.
She's barely confident.
We're not falling for these folks who are trying to divide us, trying to separate us, trying to pull us apart. That's not where the strength lies.
Harris did not mention the debates, but earlier had agreed to participate in the scheduled ABC debate. Tropical storm Debbie still posing a major flood threat to parts of the Carolinas and Western Virginia as it moves north. This is ABC News.
The Broadleys WOND Weather Center.
Expect mostly cloudy skies early this evening. It's warm and humid with temperatures in the 70s. Also, it's a little breezy. We could see a stray shower or 2 the rest of our Thursday, pretty hit or miss. But tomorrow we'll have some more scattered rain and rumbles of thunder tomorrow, and it will be pretty windy on our Friday. We'll have those gusty winds. Warm tomorrow with high temperatures in the low. Trishler.
The Schultz Hill Foundation welcomes Tony Danza's live hit show, Standards and Stories, to Resorts Superstar Theater Friday, August 16th. Tickets available at Ticketmaster or the Resorts box office.
Hello?
Listening, Brigantine, I'm talking to you. Atlantic City, this is no gamble. I guess.
WOND Pleasantville. Off the Press with Scott Cronick is presented by Shore Physicians Group and Ocean Casino Resort.
Filling in for Scott Cronick on this Football Thursday. Preseason football kicking off tonight with a couple games. I don't count the Hall of Fame game, by the way. We got 2 weeks from now, we got college football. And I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about college football. But just let me tell you, head over to the Showboat, Atlantic City's Lucky Snake Arcade, the biggest arcade on the East Coast, for some unbelievable adventures for you and your whole family. Calling all speed enthusiasts, experience the thrill of go-karting at a whopping 50% off from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. daily. Unleash your need for speed and conquer the tracks without putting a dent in your wallet. For more information, go to showboatHotelAC.com. Everything you need to know there, and don't forget about the Island Water Park, open year-round. Great spot to go. All right, who we got up next? We got up what I would say a guy that it was a pleasure to find him on social media because I'm a big college football guy, and this guy is definitely the king or the expert in the transfer portal, number one. But he's got his ear on a lot of things going on in college football, whether it be FCS, FBS, some smaller schools. So he's built over time. He's built a pretty impressive a log of contacts, and it's my pleasure to bring him on to talk college football. You could catch him on RicoKnows, and I'll let him tell you where you could find him when we're finished talking some college football. Rico, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good, Butch, man. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, awesome. You're my college football go-to for the inside stuff. I mean, you've been fast and furious the past few days as we're getting closer to the start of the season and some of these things going on. The latest thing I saw today was about the 29-year-old receiver. We'll get to that in a minute. Now that we're getting close, a couple weeks away, transfer portal. I got to ask you, who put themselves in the best position as far as a team? Who really didn't help themselves? And what players you think did themselves good, whether it be moving up to FBS or moving down to FCS, and what players you think basically hurt themselves?
Oh, goodness. Some loaded questions here. So, obviously, who didn't help themselves with the transfer portal? It's the same team every year, and that's Clemson. Dabo Swinney refuses to use the transfer portal. He says it's not the way he's going to do things. So, there's that issue there. What I would say is I'm not frowning upon it. I think it's unique. I hope he develops all his players and makes the best of his situation. But as teams continue to close the gap on Clemson, it looks like they need to identify somebody in the portal that can help them. There were players in the portal this year that could really help improve them, and they didn't even go that route, if you will. So that's kind of concerning there. The teams that really impressed me with the transfer portal, and it's going to sound absurd, but initially the number one team that pops on the radar for me is Indiana firing their head coach in Tom Allen, and they had to find, a new head coach in Curt Cignetti coming over from JMU, and they decide, all right, what are we going to do? Well, you bring over all the JMU kids, but then they go and grab ODU's top tacklers. They go and grab some really stellar guys in the transfer portal, a quarterback from Ohio who's been a starter for 3 years. They just find the right pieces, and I love what Curt Cignetti's building. Now, I understand Indiana's not a threat to win the Big Ten in any way. They're probably going to win 5 or 6 or 7 games this year, but when I tell you improvement from the portal is essential, and Indiana's doing that. I'm really proud of them. I believe in teams like UTEP. Getting a new head coach is typically how you win in the portal. You reinvigorate your conference. You do things like that. And then at the same time, you can go out and become a contender with the portal. That's what Florida State did, right? If you look at their success last year, every significant player that contributed to their success on the field was a transfer. Every single one of them. And there's a team built like that right now, and that's Miami. And I'm not a huge supporter or believer in Cristobal's ability to do the X's and O's thing. But when we look at accumulation of talent, Miami knocked it out the park with the transfer portal. I really believe they won in the spring. I like what Miami's building, and they won in the transfer portal again.
Yeah, I'm a big Miami guy. Always was. But Cristobal, some of the decisions, he made himself a YouTube star with some of the decisions he made last year, in particular the 4th and 1, going for it and losing the game, whatever the case may be. In Florida State, you made a good point about that. It seemed when you watched a Florida State game last year on TV, or you watched any film of them, all you heard was, this guy, he came over from here, and that guy big playmakers coming over from other places. And the fact that you mentioned about Clemson, people are going to have to keep their ear on the stone there with the situation with the ACC, with teams trying to leave, teams trying to go. And I always thought that eventually college football, and it's going in that direction. I always thought eventually you were just going to have a couple of huge conferences that almost were like a league in themselves, where they had divisions and breakdown and stuff like that. And now with the playoffs expanding, basically, that's going to be depending on your ranking. I think more teams, and there are teams out there, surprisingly, that didn't schedule. I seen it the other day on somebody's feed. There's a couple FBS schools out there that didn't schedule any of the FCS schools to play. But I got a theory behind that, and watching your stuff and listening to your stuff, I think some of these FCS programs, Rico, are also improving themselves in the transfer portal and are also getting better. And some of these bigger schools really don't see it worth their while to play a competitive FCS school anymore.
Well, I don't know, if it was ever worth their while. They were trying to help those young programs or those small programs make it financially, right? So they would schedule the Alabama A&M Tech, whatever you want to say the title of the school was. But what I'd say is there is very little value in losing to one of those teams. And as you remember, Michigan losing to App State. But there can be other teams. Even last year, I told you Southern Illinois. If people remember, I predicted FCS teams to beat FBS teams. And I got 2 out of the 3 right. I said the Salukis at Southern Illinois were going to beat Northern Illinois. That's a rivalry game. And then I said Idaho would beat Nevada. And what people need to understand is when you lose games like that against the FBS, you actually lose recruits who are staying within the state, who are staying there, and they're on the fence about whether or not they want to go to your school. And I know that doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is when Sacramento State beats Stanford and they're in the same backyard. And they're gonna be in that same boat where I believe Sacramento State's another great team this year. Nobody wants to play them. And some of these teams their facilities are great. Shout out to COVID. COVID gave everybody an extra year of eligibility. That means there wasn't enough chairs, right? It's musical chairs, and there's not enough chairs, and there's more than enough players. So the trickle-down effect is real. If you miss in recruiting at the FBS level, you don't have to process out the player. And what I'm referring to is back in the 90s and the early 2000s, if a player wasn't good enough to play at your school, you used to try to make them quit, because you couldn't pull a scholarship for athletic reasons. So you would just do things. You'd make up rules like, and I'm saying you as in coaches would say, hey, we have a team meeting at 06 tomorrow, knowing full well a player wasn't going to make it there on time, and now they could kick him off the team. And they were just trying to get rid of scholarships. Nowadays, with the transfer portal, coaches are just sending players to the transfer portal in droves, and they're getting rid of these young men, and they're cutting them in exit meetings in the spring, and they have to find another seat at the table, and there's no seat. So the FCS is reaping the benefits. Now, that being said, there's still a huge trend that's happened over the last 2 years, and that is group of five college football teams, their NFL prospects are transferring to the Power Four. They're transferring to all the bigger schools. I was studying the draft, and 2 years ago, in the NFL draft, in the top 100 picks, 22 players that were taken in the top 100 picks, 22 were from group of 5 schools 2 years ago. That number is down to 8 this year. So 8 in the most recent draft. So all the NFL caliber players are transferring to a Power 4 school. That's what's happening. I also want to say one more thing, Butch. These conferences are growing, right? They're expanding to like 20 teams, 16 teams. You see all these huge numbers? I want to tell you that what's going to happen in the future, within the next 5 to 10 years, is they're going to reduce in size. They're going to cut the fat, and you're going to see teams like Northwestern or Rutgers. You're going to see some of these teams get cut out of the larger conferences, and it's just going to become the Premier League or the elite teams playing one another. It's just more beneficial financially, and you're going to see some of those teams get trimmed out. That's what's going to happen next. So they're going to expand and then reduce.
Yeah, when conferences like the Big East when they disbanded, I mean, it really put schools in a bad situation. Like, I thought from a football standpoint, it wasn't the teams that were in that conference at the time kind of belonged there. The Temples, the Rutgers, even Syracuse was in there. When that went under, the Big East went under for football, it kind of left some of them middle programs with nowhere to go. And what happens is they end up going in the conferences they have no business being in and becoming whipping boys, i.e. Rutgers, i.e. Temple. So I would rather see your prediction happen than these other conferences. Now, as you say, Power 4, no more Power 5, than seeing these other conferences just expand and fill in the bottom of the boat with smaller schools that can't compete with the top.
Right, and this is all about, it's all driven by TV contracts. If you remember the 1980s, there was one TV contract for the entire college football, like the entirety of it. And then Notre Dame got their national contract. And then the NCAA kind of got their hands out of the basket and gave the conferences the approval right to run their own TV contracts. At some point, these schools are going to become bigger than their conferences, and the schools will then run their streaming services and streaming rights. And once that happens, then the size of the conferences will reduce, and the schools will kind of dictate who the good old boy network is, or who's in the in crowd, if you will. So it's just a evolution of college football. It's going to happen. It's bound to happen.
All right, when we come back, I want to get some, predictions, but I don't want to steal away from your stuff. We're with Rico Knows here on WOND 92.3 FM, 1400 AM, and worldwide on WONDradio.com. Butch Boccianico filling in for Scott Cronick. All football, all day. We'll be back in a minute with more Rico.
Play outside this summer at Golden Nugget Atlantic City. As the weather warms up, the party moves outside with live entertainment and weekly theme nights at the Deck Bayfront Bar and Restaurant located on the only marina in Atlantic City. Or relax in style at H2O Pool and Bar, a refreshing rooftop pool complete with hot tubs, fire pits, and private party cabanas. H2O also offers Industry Tuesdays every Tuesday complete with a DJ. Visit GoldenNugget.com to experience the Marina way.
Calling all wine lovers. Join us for an evening full of worldwide wine at Golden Nuggets International Wine Fest on Friday, August 23rd. Enjoy a summer evening under the stars with delicious international wines, live jazz music, and award-winning cuisine at the Wine and Jazz Reception on Friday, August 23rd from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Visit GoldenNugget.com for complete details and to purchase tickets. Must be 21 or older. Management reserves all rights.
From playtime to showtime, Atlantic City always serves classic summer fun with a twist of cool. Enjoy iconic restaurants, new attractions, beach bars, pool parties, free concerts on the world-famous boardwalk, and fireworks every weekend. Indulge, unwind, and escape in AC, the original cool. Visit AtlanticCityNJ.com to win an overnight getaway.
I have to mute the mic when there's music.
Casino Hotel. Take a spin at the new live table games at DraftKings Sportsbook, where the bets start at just $10. Indulge at Capriccio's, voted Best Italian Restaurant, and Landshark Bar and Grill, voted Best Outdoor Dining and Best Beach Bar. And don't miss the excitement at Changes in Latitudes, America's premier Jimmy Buffett tribute show on September 1st. Get tickets at resortsac.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hello? Tasha back there behind the glass on the ones and twos, doing a great job today. Summer continues to heat up with the Hard Rock Hotel Casino. Things going on. They had a couple new additions this summer. They got the Terrace located on the resort's second level with breathtaking views of the Atlantic Ocean and Steel Pier's iconic Ferris wheel. The Terrace provides a warm and relaxed dining environment along with the cool ocean breeze. Guests can delight in a culinary experience that combines relaxed elegance with elevated casual seasonal cuisine. The Terrace is open Thursday through Sunday, weather permitting. And for those who like to party, you can head on over to the balcony at the Hard Rock in Atlantic City. New and exciting upscale nightlife. Balcony will feature theme nights in August, including August 16th, Taylor Swift night, August 17th, Gwen Stefani after party, August 23rd, 90s night, the 24th, disco night, and then we wrap up August with country night. That's the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino down at the north end of the boardwalk in Atlantic City. All right, we're back with Rico and his program, RicoKnows. I'll let him tell you where you can catch it. What I want to get into now, something that always disturbs me, and you really put a good slant on it during your programs, these troubled athletes, these troubled players. And you mentioned earlier about coaches find ways to cut them or eliminate them from the program. But you also see a lot of coaches out there that are enabling these kids, and it's a shame because the worst thing in life, taking a line from the Bronx Tale, is waste of talent. And it's a shame that we never see the potential of some of these kids. With some of the big names now, or big recruits out there that are kind of hanging on a limb, so to speak, in some of these programs.
Oh, goodness, Butch. I don't want to put their names in the mud because they are still young men.
All right, well, how about this? Fair enough.
Yes, sir.
But how about some programs, and you don't even have to say coaches, how about some programs that, and we know who they are because back in the 80s, DU was one of them. There's programs out there that enable these kids. With some programs that are willing to put up with nonsense longer than, say, other programs, because we know there's coaches out there that don't take no nonsense, but we also know that there's coaches out there that'll kind of overlook things.
Yeah, on the flip side, I have zero issue holding coaches accountable for the decision making. They're the adults in the situation. So I want to be very clear. There are teams, and I don't fault these men that do this, that enable criminal activity, that enable substandard conduct on their programs. I understand the bottom line is winning. I understand that their families will lose their standard of living if they don't win. But you have to value integrity, and you have to value doing things the right way. There's a reason Stanford, despite being a highly academic institution, seems to find really hard workers who are good at football. You know, you don't have to say the product's going to be Vanderbilt. You don't have to say the product's going to be Yale or Harvard. All I'm asking is that you find individuals who abide by the law, right? So when we look at legal issues or legal concerns, the number one program out there is Georgia. And I think programs are chasing victories and wins, and they're not too concerned with being labeled a convict, right? Catholics versus convicts, or a troublesome program like Florida. They don't care because the revenue is there. So here's my bigger concern. There was a hit piece that just came out from Athlon Sports a couple days ago about Coach Prime in Colorado and the quote-unquote crime culture in the locker room. While it sounded like crime culture, you could turn around and you could say, devil's advocate says, nobody's been arrested at Colorado. But several players at Colorado were arrested before they ever got there. They've been arrested multiple times. They're recruiting a player that should have been arrested for threatening a woman, supposedly, with a gun. A young girl, a minor at that. So they're willing to ignore certain aspects and certain conduct for the sake of trying to get your best 85 players. And that I have a problem with. Another thing I'll say is, and if you've ever talked to a college football coach, and I don't care how you narrate this, college football coaches are arrogant. They are egotistical. They are, and you have to be successful in their field. While some people might label them humble, some people might say that they're father figures and they're leaders and mentors, you have to believe you are better than your peers. So sometimes college coaches will have the audacity to think, well, that individual failed at that school, but that's because they didn't give him the right culture or the right development or the right environment to succeed. So while he's a trouble for you, maybe we can fix him. And UCF's a prime example of that. They just had a young man, and I don't mind saying his name, Ajay Hall, who was kicked out of Alabama by Nick Saban. And Nick Saban's notorious for giving people second and third chances. He was kicked out of Texas after getting arrested. And then UCF said, we'll take him as a preferred walk-on after he didn't play last year. Well, it just turns out he got caught with over 40 pounds of marijuana illegally at the Orlando airport, and he's been charged with drug trafficking. And he took a plea deal, and he pled no contest, and he's on 18 months probation. But Tony Mitchell was on 3 years probation and was at the Alabama program last year as a convicted felon. So sometimes these players, and he never saw the field, these players get these passes and under the guise of they're just kids, they need a second chance. But if you're a convicted felon, I will put your name in a report and in a video, because that is verified character concerns. And I will never, ever ignore that. And I will never, you can't ignore it for the sake of trying to win games. That's just not how it works. There's a 3-star kid right now in the transfer portal that didn't get a scholarship because you chose to give that young man a scholarship that has character concerns. Chris Marshall.
I was getting at. I mean, these kids with character concerns, and I'm not talking about giving them one chance. I'm talking about these kids out there that have shown talent on the field, but off the field, they're just a mess. And when they're getting 2 and 3 chances based on their talent, you're holding back, and you just said it, I'm just concurring what you said. You're holding back a kid that's a good kid, that has integrity, from getting a place on a team that maybe some people would think he rightfully deserves. And, I don't like that. And another thing, you got the NIL now that kind of went under the rug because it's here now. You got pressure from boosters out there, and you got pressure from high-end alumni. They don't mind. They want, like you said, they want to win, and they'll throw something out there to draw these kids. Now, some of these kids just don't have, obviously, the intelligence to behave. But, it's a shame that it comes down to that a good kid from maybe a good home or whatever is losing out on a scholarship or a chance to play on a team maybe that he wanted to play on his whole life. Before we run out of time, Rico, and time goes so quick when I'm talking to you, your college outlook for this year, I won't hold you to them because I know things change, but what do you like in the Big Four conferences? What's some of the smaller teams we should look out for? I mean, I know you mentioned Sacramento State, and I think they got a real good chance of beating who they play, San Jose State or San Diego? No, not San Diego.
San Jose, you got it right.
I think in the opener. And, of course, North Dakota State's good every year, and usually they have no shame throwing somebody good, and I think, don't they open up against Colorado, I think?
That is correct.
So, who do you like this year? Is it, you don't have to give me the spots, but now with the big playoff, I mean, who's got a good chance that maybe we haven't seen in the past to make the playoff?
Sure. So first and foremost, this will probably be a good time to plug what I do and how I do it, right? So I'm on Patreon.com. That's an app just like any of these creator apps out there like YouTube or OnlyFans or any of those pages. But Patreon is for people like me who have platforms, and my members on Patreon, we call them MVPs, and they get access to the premium content. My members on YouTube get the same premium content. And I give out my predictions to the MVPs every single week for all the games. I picked over 400 games last year against the spread. We ended up about 65% during bowl season and championship weeks. Over the entire season, it was 60%. Right now, we're doing UFC, and my locks are over 80%. It's absurd. So I make a good living doing this, and I make predictions that come true. So here's what I want to tell you. The major teams out there, I don't believe in sleepers. I don't even think that's a real term. I think the favorites are the favorites, and we know who they are, and they're good teams, and they're good players, and they're out there. If somebody's quote-unquote underrated, that's because an individual person just doesn't know who the teams are and who the players are. I believe everybody's rated where they need to be. That being said, no one's talking about Missouri enough, okay? They need to stop ignoring Missouri. I'm really high on Arizona in the Big 12. I'm really high on Missouri in the SEC, along with Ole Miss, Texas, Alabama, all the regulars. But I am not that high on Florida State and Michigan. I'm just not. And I understand that people are high on them and say they're going to be in the playoffs and all this stuff. They're going to have to win 9 to 10 games. And I just think that's a very difficult task for both those programs going into this season. Teams that I believe in, small school teams, App State, Memphis, I believe Memphis is probably better. Like a lot of people list Boise State over and over and over, and I've done an assessment on the entire roster, and I don't believe in Boise State like that. I believe in Fresno State more than Boise State.
You gave us enough. I want people to go see your stuff.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.
All your stuff. Rico, thanks for joining us. Once again, that half hour flies by. Butch Butchanico with you on WOND 92.3 FM, 1400 AM, WONDradio.com. We'll be back with Mark Eckel.
WOND live from the.
Well, there you guys have it. Done with my interview with Butch. It always flies by really fast. It's unfortunate. The radio, they have slots, commercials, and things they got to do. They got to pay bills. So I can't really start cooking the way I want to. I won't give away everything. But I'm here. I'm on YouTube with you guys. You guys are watching. So I'm free to answer questions. If you want to put them in the chat, I'm still here. I'll keep the live stream going. I won't end it. And I'll pull up YouTube while we're here. Congratulations to the men's basketball team. They just beat Serbia, came from behind to win. So that's pretty cool. Give me a second here while I set up YouTube or TikTok. I won't take questions from TikTok. Shout out to Butch. He just sent me a text. He said we could talk for hours. Yes, we could. I talk a lot. Shout out to Derek Newcomer for being here. MVPs, if you don't know, we won a ton of money today. All my Olympic bets have essentially hit. We just won gold with Grant Holloway and Sidney McLaughlin. I had that parlayed. I went pretty deep. I went 10 units on that. I also went 10 units on a couple other bets. I went 5 units. We're up huge. So I am taking Kim to dinner tonight once we finish this. We're up in thousands upon thousands of dollars. It feels really good. Shout out to the MVPs who tailed the bets. We know the Olympics. I'm a track and field expert. I ran track my entire, my high school career, if you will, and I've been following track like a fanatic for 20-something years. So when the MVPs asked me if I could talk about track and give them my predictions, some of the things I said: stay away from Noah Lyles in the 200, stay away from Ingebrigtsen, stay away from Faith. Like, I gave out these answers. I told MVPs don't do it. So if I pull up the Discord server, I can show you guys. This will be pretty cool. You guys can see our conversations in the general chat, and this is like before the race. Let me see if I can pull this up. It'll be pretty cool for you guys to see. I said it right here. Let me move this. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm ready to show you guys the whole screen. There we go. Let me see if I can zoom in on it. I can't, but it's right here. And I said it right here. I'm on Sidney and Holloway 1K parlay, not on Lyles. I'm letting the MVPs know I'm not on Lyles. I said it live on TikTok. I said I'm on Tobago to win because I think he can beat Lyles. So that's a real life issue that just occurred, and I just believed in it to that extent. So shout out to the MVPs who are on the Discord server. If you're not an MVP, you can't get in those channels when we talk. That's the reality of the situation. So pretty good. One of my MVPs hit a huge bet. I want to give him a shout out. Jay Key is his name. Let me see if I can pull that up for you guys. Jay Key just hit this bet right here for a plus 692 7-leg parlay at the Olympics, based off the video, based off the information given. These are all my picks. Most of them. I want to say 2 of those aren't, but the rest are. So congratulations. Some MVPs are better than others. Feels really good. But I am going to take your questions out of the chat. If you're watching on TikTok, go over to YouTube, put your questions in. I will answer them, and then we'll end the show. And Kim and I can go grab some dinner because I am pretty hungry. I don't know. Romeo Taylor says, "Hey, Rico, I have a personal question." All right, I have a personal answer. Go ahead and ask it. By the way, kitchen's in the background because we were getting ready to sell the house. Now it looks like we're just going to keep it like this all football season. We don't care. We're having a good time. Not going to sell the house before football season. Not going to move during football season, so we'll wait till next year. Good afternoon, Rico. Shout out to you, Jabron Fuller. Good to see you, bro. Willie Bobo in the house. Willie Bobo, he knows. And we're about to go. Great answer so far. Thank you, Romeo Taylor. I appreciate you. I see you, Rick. What up, E-Money? Noah Markley. Rico letting ads roll. No way. I can't do anything about the ads, man. It is what it is. Thank you guys for sitting down and listening. They had me worried, but they came through. The American team, basketball. France and USA going to be loud. I'm not too worried about it. What up, Willie Bobo? I don't even watch basketball, guys. I saw the results, but I don't watch basketball. Bro killed it. Thank you so much. Nice. It was a good one. How are we feeling about Noah not winning? I didn't expect him to. I thought he looked tired in the previous race. Now they're saying he had COVID. So it's the reality of the situation. The day before, yesterday, I talked to Kim about Tebogo, and I said, I think he's going to be the fastest person in the world in 2 years, at the World Championships in 2 years. And I told her, just remember what I told you this first. And then I was on TikTok Live, and I announced it to everybody. Hey, this is what's happening. Good afternoon, Rico. What up, David? Word on the street in Armpit, Tucson is that Kenyon Burnett going to open some eyes at tight end. So Kenyon Burnett played at Servite High School. One of the Servite brothers that showed up with Noah Fafita and T-Mac, he was a USC commit, and then he flipped to Arizona, and then they all went to Arizona. So shout out to Burnett. He has been on the bench. He's a good tight end. There's been pro tight ends in front of him, so it's not a bad thing. I'm not surprised at all. I think he's a beast. I remember he jumped in the portal and came back. So excited to see Burnett get some burn, and let's see what he does. Yeah, I'm excited for that. What up, peeps? It's your boy, Willie Bobo. The personal question was about the race baiting and stolen valor claims. This election got me worried. I'm not worried about an election at all. I don't talk politics. Race baiting, I don't necessarily know what you're talking about. And stolen valor claims, this sounds absurd. I'm a retired first sergeant. I served over 20 years in the Army. There is nothing to debate. I have a DD-214. I have every award that I've ever earned on my chest. I've deployed. Anyone saying anything otherwise is a liar, and they've never met me in real life. So anybody claiming I'm not who I say I am, or I didn't serve where I served, or did what I did, there's really nothing to do. There's really nothing to try to prove here. That's absurd. I used to do videos in uniform. I used to go do videos in uniform, and there's videos on YouTube on my channel. Like, you can't say I'm not real. Like, that's stolen valor. That's absurd, yo. Like, my goodness, that's nuts. No, not on you, JD Vance and Walt. Dude, I don't give a shit about politics, Romeo. Romeo, you will be blocked on this channel if you come in here talking politics. I do not give a flying damn about politics, man. This is a sports channel. We talk sports here. I don't give a shit if it's an election year or not. Don't do that. You will literally get erased from my channel. That is not a game. What's up, money? Shout out to Willie Bobo. This fool on here killing it. Thank you so much, E Money. Yeah, I don't do that. Hey, guys, I'll end the show on that note. I'm going to go have